We have spent this month talking about the science of sun damage, how UV radiation creates oxidative stress, and how it upregulates destructive enzymes like collagenase, and why we need to be sun smart rather than sun scared. But what happens when the damage is already done? Well, whether it's a client who had experienced sun exposure over the weekend or somebody returning from a long summer holiday, we need a clinical strategy for skin repair. Today, we are breaking down the post-sun recovery protocol and how to rebuild a UV-compromised barrier. When a client presents with post-sun skin, there are typically three primary clinical realities they're dealing with. First, a profound dehydration due to the depletion of natural moisturizing factor or NMF. Second, a compromised bilipid layer driven by lipid peroxidation. And third, the active inflammation that is triggered by the immune system's response to UV-induced damage. A successful repair protocol has to address all three of these simultaneously. One of the biggest mistakes practitioners make with post-sun skin is trying to immediately treat pigmentation or aging. You cannot apply strong exfoliants, aggressive retinoids, or high-level tyrosinase inhibitors to a barrier that is actively inflamed and rapidly losing water. If you do, you amplify the inflammatory response and potentially increase the risk of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Phase 1 of recovery must always be barrier repair and inflammation control first and foremost. Before correcting pigmentation, before targeting aging, before introducing aggressive actives, the barrier must first be stabilized. Let's start with inflammation. The skin is hot, reactive, erythematous, and sensitized. We need to cool the inflammatory cascade. This is where ingredients like Boswellia sarta extract becomes extremely valuable. I love Boswellia. Boswellia helps to inhibit the 5-lipoxygenase pathway, which plays a major role in inflammatory signaling. We also want to consider ingredients like D-Panthenol, which is vitamin B5 as an example. This not only helps soothe erythema, but also supports cellular repair and recovery as well. Once inflammation begins to calm, we have to rebuild that physical structure of the barrier itself. Remember, UV radiation drives lipid peroxidation. It oxidizes and damages the ceramides, cholesterol, and essential fatty acids within the stratum corneum. So therefore, our goal is not simply to occlude the skin, we need to replace the exact lipids the skin has lost. This is where physiological lipid systems like dermomembrane structure creams, for example, become essential, mimicking the biolipids of the skin. We are restoring the mortar between the corneocytes using the skin-identical lipids. Linoleic and linolenic acid, which is omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, also become critically important for restoring flexibility and proper barrier function. The oxidative stress cascade does not stop the moment that the client comes out of the sun. Free radical activity continues well beyond the exposure itself. This means that we need to aggressively support the skin with antioxidants to neutralize ongoing oxidative damage. Vitamin C is extremely valuable here, particularly in advanced delivery systems like liposomes, for example. I love a vitamin C encapsulated in a liposome because it not only scavenges free radicals, but also supports collagen synthesis that UV radiation attempts to suppress. Vitamin E is actually equally helpful in protecting cellular membranes from further lipid peroxidation. This is not simply about soothing the skin surface. No, it is about interrupting the biochemical cascade that continues after UV exposure. We have to be smart about this for our clients. So to summarize this protocol, we want to calm the inflammation with ingredients like Boswellia and D-Panthenol, for example. There are multiple choices out there, but those are two of my favorites. We want to repair the bilipid layer with skin-identical lipids and essential fatty acids, and protect the skin by halting free radical cascades with antioxidants. And once the barrier is restored, the erythema has resolved, and transepidermal water loss has normalized, we can then begin addressing the secondary concerns like hyperpigmentation and loss of elasticity. Always repair the foundation first. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Share it with your friends, and I will see you next week.